Hello everyone, my name is Sophia, and today I want to share something deeply personal with you. This is a story about family, money, betrayal, and ultimately finding the courage to speak your truth. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, if you've ever been the giver while others took credit, or if you've ever wondered whether you're crazy for feeling hurt by people who claim to love you, this story is for you. What I'm about to tell you happened over the course of several years, but it all came to a head in early 2024. It's about how I supported my sister through college, paid for her graduation celebration, only to be told I didn't belong there. But more than that, it's about discovering that the people I thought were my family had been using me while erasing me from their story entirely. I'm sharing this because I believe that silence protects the wrong people. For too long I stayed quiet, thinking that keeping peace was more important than keeping my dignity. I was wrong, and if my story helps even one person recognize that they deserve better, then every painful moment will have been worth it. So let's begin. It was March 15th, 2024, when I drove to that fancy estate in the suburbs of Buenos Aires. I had just paid 85,000 pesos for my sister Valentina's graduation party, money I could barely afford. For 3 years I had been sending her 75,000 pesos every month for rent, plus covering her tuition costs. I skipped meals, wore the same clothes and said no to everything just to keep her afloat. That day I dressed carefully. Clean white shirt, jeans without holes, hair pulled back neatly. Maybe I thought someone would actually see me for once. When I arrived at the venue, it was one of those perfect places with manicured gardens and expensive cars lining the street. I could hear music and laughter coming from the backyard. But when I approached the entrance, 2 security guards stopped me. "This is a private event," the bigger one said. I showed them the invitation I had screenshot from my mother's Facebook meet. The only way I ever found out about family events. "I'm Valentina's sister," I said calmly. "My name is Sophia." The guard spoke into his radio, and then the door opened. Out came Valentina in a glittering gold dress that cost 70,000 pesos, money I had transferred without question. Behind her were my parents, Esperanza and Ricardo. Valentina looked at me and said to the guards, "She doesn't belong here." I thought she was joking until my father Ricardo laughed and said, "You really showed up." Not surprised, just amused, like I had wandered into the wrong place by mistake. My mother Esperanza jumped in with her fake concerned voice. "Sophia, this is Valentina's special day. Let's not make it into something it's not." "You mean like pretending I don't exist?" I replied, looking her straight in the eye. Then Valentina said something that still echoes in my mind. "You only help to hold it over me." It's manipulative. I could have argued. I could have reminded them of every transfer, every payment, every sacrifice. Instead I said, "Then you're welcome," turned around and walked back to my car. There was no screaming, no dramatic scene, just me, the sound of gravel under my feet, and a silence that felt more final than any argument we'd ever had. As I sat in my car that evening, I started to see the bigger picture. This wasn't just about one party. This was about years of being systematically erased from my own family's story. Take my birthday in January 2024. It fell on a Tuesday, during a terrible storm that shut down half the city. I didn't expect a party, but maybe a call or a simple text. Instead, I got a Facebook notification showing Valentina out celebrating that same night. Champagne, expensive desserts, group photos at a downtown restaurant. Her caption read, "Surprise night out, grateful for the ones who matter." That same night, I ate leftover cake that a co-worker had given me with a single candle, joking about lighting it in the break room. The next day, my mother sent a vague text, "Hope you're doing okay, not happy birthday," just a generic check-in. 2 weeks later, I discovered that my mother had been given access to my bank account. Valentina had convinced me months earlier to send rent money directly to Esperanza's account, to make tracking easier. What I didn't know was that my mother could see every transaction I made, every small purchase, every bill, every sacrifice, while never saying a word of thanks. Then came the dress situation. 2 weeks before graduation, Valentina texted me, I need a dress. Budget? I said 20,000 pesos, thinking that was already generous. She sent back a screenshot of a designer dress costing 70,000 pesos with the message, "This one. You wouldn't understand, but this kind of event demands something polished." I bought the dress. I didn't argue or negotiate. I just transferred the money and asked for the delivery address. Her response? A thumbs up emoji. No thank you, no acknowledgement. That night, the dress appeared on her Instagram with the caption, "Deserve every bit of this moment." My name was nowhere to be found. A few days after the graduation party, I received a message that changed everything. My cousin Camila, who I barely spoke to, sent me 3 screenshots that made my blood run cold. They were from a group chat called Valentina plus Real Ones. The messages were from Valentina herself. Told you all she'd show up, so desperate to be part of everything. She pays my bills and still gets treated like trash. Must love it. Someone asked, didn't she cry? Valentina's response, didn't stay long enough to find out. Too bad, I would have filmed it. But the worst part was this exchange. Wait, you really didn't invite her after she paid for everything? Why should I? Paying doesn't mean you're part of the family. It means you're useful. That's it. The final screenshot was a meme they had made using my photo with the words ATM machine. But make it sad. I sat in my apartment, staring at these messages for what felt like hours. There was no shock, just a cold, clear understanding of how little I had meant to them all along. That night, I made a decision. I opened the family group chat, the one where they shared baby photos and fundraiser links, where no one had spoken to me since the party. I typed, "Let me show you what your perfect daughter really thinks of me." I attached the screenshot of Valentina's messages and hit send. The chat went completely silent. 10 minutes later, my Aunt Marta left the group without a word. That's when I understood how thin our family unity had always been. One exposed truth, and everything started to crumble. The next day brought a call from Esperanza. "Sophia," she said in that syrupy voice she used when trying to sound concerned, "I really wish you hadn't posted that. You've upset your sister deeply." "You mean the sister who humiliated me after I paid for her party?" I replied. She was emotional. It was a big day for her. For me, it was the day I learned you'd rather pretend I didn't exist than face one moment of discomfort. When she tried to make me feel guilty for bringing up every little thing, I asked her a simple question: when did you last wish me a happy birthday? The pause that followed said everything. Not everyone abandoned me. My grandfather Miguel showed up at my door a few hours later with a box of lemon cookies, my favorites. "We weren't invited either," he said quietly. "Your grandmother and I didn't even know about the party until after. Esperanza said we'd cause a scene." He sat in my living room and told me something that broke my heart. She said I talk too much and take attention away from Valentina. Before he left, Grandfather Miguel looked at me with the kind of clarity that comes from years of experience. "You're not crazy, Sophia. They've made you feel like you are, like wanting to be seen is selfish. But it's not. Just don't lose yourself trying to keep people like them comfortable." My cousin Camila also reached out properly. "I've been in that group chat for a year," she admitted. "I was added by accident and never left. I kept watching, waiting to see how far it would go. I'm not sending you those screenshots to be mean. I just think people deserve to know who they're defending. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, they did." A few weeks later, I received a forwarded email from Elena, a friend who worked in HR at a company I had previously contracted with. The subject line read, "Concerning behavior regarding employee safety." The email was from Valentina, sent to my former workplace. "I'm reaching out because I'm concerned about Sofia Martinez's recent behavior. She's been emotionally erratic, has posted about family members online, and is exhibiting patterns of harassment. I fear for our safety and believe this should be on record should things escalate." My own sister had tried to sabotage my professional reputation. She knew exactly what she was doing, creating a paper trail that could affect my future employment opportunities. That's when I realized this wasn't just about family drama. This was systematic emotional abuse, and I had been enabling it through my silence. I had kept detailed records for years, screenshots of thank you messages, bank transfers, payment confirmations, the whole history of my financial support. If Valentina wanted documentation, I would give her some. I created a post on an online forum where people share family drama stories. I laid out everything: the payments, the erasure, the graduation party incident, and now the attempt to damage my career. I wrote it like a report. Mine factual, chronological. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of people read and shared my story. Comments poured in from strangers who had experienced similar treatment. "This is emotional abuse," they wrote. "You're not crazy. This happened to me too." For the first time, I didn't feel alone. As if the universe wanted to make the situation crystal clear, a few days later, I received an anonymous envelope containing a copy of my parents' will. Everything pairs, every asset, every family heirloom, every peso was left to Valentina. My name wasn't mentioned anywhere, not even a token amount or a personal item. I called Grandfather Miguel, who confirmed that this wasn't the will they had seen 2 years earlier. "This is recent," he said. "They rewrote it." My cousin Elena called soon after. "Esperanza told everyone you were too dramatic to deserve anything real." I wasn't surprised, but seeing it in writing was still brutal. I had funded their lifestyle for years, only to be completely written out of their future. I decided to have one last conversation. I went to my parents' house unannounced, carrying the will in an envelope. Valentina was there, curled up on the couch in expensive loungewear. Ricardo sat reading a newspaper, playing the role of uninvolved patriarch. I placed the will on the table between them and said, "Let's stop pretending. One conversation, one moment of honesty. That's all I want." When Esperanza started to speak, I cut her off. "If your love was conditional, just say that. If your version of family requires silence and service, admit it. Don't dress it up as care." Ricardo finally looked up. "That's not fair, Sophia." "What's not fair?" I replied, "is rewriting history and calling it healing." When Valentina reached for her phone, probably to record me for more evidence, I warned her, "If you're going to record this to make me look unhinged again, at least wait until I leave." She put the phone down. I looked around the house, the same furniture, the same photos on the walls, the same carefully curated image. "This place was never mine," I said. "I just funded the illusion." I left without another word. That night, I shared the will online with a simple caption: "Let's stop pretending this was ever about family. It was about ownership." The response was immediate and intense. People were outraged on my behalf, supportive, angry at the injustice of it all. Within hours, Valentina deleted all her social media accounts. Esperanza's Facebook went private. My cousin Elena sent a text. "I didn't know. I really didn't. I believed her, but I wasn't in the business of making people feel better anymore." Grandfather Miguel called just to say, "I'm proud of you, Sophia." For the first time in years, I felt like I was standing up for myself, instead of propping up a family that didn't want me in it. 3 weeks after everything exploded, I started a new job at a non-profit organization. It wasn't much money, but it was honest work with people who valued what I brought to the table. No strings attached, no hidden agendas, just a fair exchange of work for respect and compensation. I had a title: Outreach Coordinator. Not someone's assistant, not a backup plan, not a financial resource to be tapped when convenient. I was building something of my own. Grandfather Miguel still called every few days. We didn't talk about the family drama. We talked about his garden, the weather, normal things. It was enough to know someone was in my corner, with no conditions attached. Some of my cousins reached out privately to apologize for staying silent when they saw what was happening. Others, like Camila, made public statements supporting me. "Sophia isn't bitter," she wrote online. "She's brave." There's a difference. Looking back, I realize I had been taught that keeping the peace meant keeping quiet. That loyalty was measured by how much pain I could absorb without complaining. That being the strong one meant disappearing behind everyone else's story. But here's what I learned. Silence doesn't make you noble. It makes you invisible. Speaking up isn't about revenge. It's about reclaiming your truth and your place in the world. I used to think that love meant sacrifice without recognition. Now I know that real love involves seeing and valuing the person giving, not just taking what they offer while erasing their contribution. The money I gave wasn't just financial support. It was a way of saying I love you, I believe in you, I want you to succeed. But they treated it like a transaction from a stranger, something they were entitled to without gratitude or acknowledgement. Today, I live differently. I have boundaries. I choose who gets my energy and my resources based on how they treat me, not just our shared DNA. I've learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about respect, reciprocity, and recognition. I still help people, but I do it with organizations that value contribution, where help is acknowledged and appreciated. I volunteer at women's shelters, where I see other people who've had to choose between their peace and their family's comfort. My apartment is quiet now, but it's a different kind of quiet. Not the heavy silence of suppressed resentment, but the peaceful quiet of someone who no longer has to justify their existence to people who refuse to see them. Valentina never apologized. Neither did my parents. I don't expect them to anymore, and I don't need their words to validate my experience. Their silence speaks loudly enough. Sometimes people ask me if I regret speaking out, if I wish I had handled things differently. The answer is no. For the first time in my adult life, I chose myself. Not out of spite or anger, but out of necessity and self-respect. I sleep better now. I work on projects that matter to me. I spend time with people who see me as a whole person, not just a resource to be tapped when convenient. My story isn't unique, unfortunately. There are thousands of people who give and give until they're empty, who support family members who take them for granted, who stay silent to keep peace while slowly disappearing. If you're one of those people, I want you to know you are not responsible for other people's comfort at the expense of your own dignity. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Your contributions matter, your feelings are valid, and you deserve to be seen and acknowledged. Financial abuse within families is real. Emotional manipulation is real. Being made to feel crazy for wanting basic respect and recognition is real. You're not imagining it. You're not being too sensitive, and you're not asking for too much. These days I speak at community events about financial boundaries and family relationships. I share my story not to get sympathy, but to help other people recognize similar patterns in their own lives. I've learned that healing doesn't always look like reconciliation. Sometimes it looks like walking away. Sometimes it looks like choosing peace over peacekeeping. Sometimes it looks like speaking truth even when your voice shakes. I'm not angry anymore. Anger was just the surface emotion covering deeper feelings of grief and betrayal. Now I feel clear, purposeful, and free in ways I never experienced when I was constantly trying to earn love through financial support. My grandfather Miguel is still in my life, along with a few cousins who proved they could see past the family narrative to support what was right. These relationships are deeper and more honest now, because they're built on choice rather than obligation. To anyone watching or reading this who has ever felt dismissed, erased, or taken for granted by their own family, you are not alone. You do not need permission to matter. You do not have to scream to be heard. Sometimes the quietest decisions make the loudest impact. You can choose to walk away from people who treat you as a resource rather than a person. You can choose to speak your truth, even when others prefer your silence. You can choose yourself, your peace, and your dignity over maintaining an illusion that benefits everyone except you. It won't be easy. People who benefit from your silence will call you dramatic, difficult, or disloyal when you start speaking up. They'll try to make you feel guilty for no longer accepting unacceptable treatment. But your job isn't to make their manipulation comfortable. It's to live authentically and with self-respect. If this story resonated with you, if you saw yourself in my experience, or if it reminded you that you deserve better treatment from the people who claim to love you, please let me know in the comments below. Share where you're from, or just drop a heart emoji if this touched you somehow. Have you ever had to choose between keeping peace and keeping yourself? Have you ever been financially generous with family members who showed no gratitude? Have you ever felt invisible in your own family's story? I'd love to hear from you. And if this video helped you feel less alone, if it gave you language for experiences you couldn't quite name before, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. We share real stories about real struggles here, and your support helps these messages reach people who need to hear them. Remember, your truth matters. Your contributions deserve acknowledgement, and you are worthy of love that doesn't require you to disappear. Thank you for listening to my story. Until next time, choose yourself.